to talk to them first, and then I kind of want them to come and meet with us just to see if this is going to be a good fit, because it is a two-way street, and not everybody really knows what a farm is like and things like this. And had a nice conversation with the woman on the phone today. It turns out that her daughter has some health issues, and she's not yet eating, and she's really living off just drinking. So they've been giving her like a lot of milk. She's going through just a lot of milk, store milk. And the mom just kind of found out that maybe it's not the best option for a kid that's drinking that much milk. So they came towards the end of the day, probably about 5, and we talked for a little while and got to look around a little bit, and I got to feel them out a little bit. And they didn't sign up for a herd share, and I recommended that they didn't until they were sure that the raw milk was going to work for them. So she just texted me, and her daughter has already drank her first bottle of raw milk. So, and she just sucked it right down. So interesting. I hope things go well with them. You meet all kinds in this business, and had a little bit of conversation with the dad, and he said, I'd just like to be able to make a difference in the world. And I said, well, you can. Just do it. Just make a difference. But there's this overarching feeling that we've got to wait for a change to come from top down. And I'm not saying a change won't come from top down, but why should we wait? Why should we do that? We can make the change at this level, kind of from the bottom up. And it seems like every time that we connect with another family, it's just a little bit more of the web gets tied together. And so I believe we are making a change from the bottom up. So let's see. On the schedule, next thing we're going to be seeing is going to be Seed Day, Seed Savers Day, or Seed Exchange Day, and that's going to be the 3rd of May. So that's right around the corner. Let's see, we're on the 11th of March right now, halfway through. I kind of call it halfway through. Seems to me like it's downhill. By the end of the week, let's see, let me look at the weather here and just brief you all on this. Here in northern Michigan, what we're looking at. Okay, well, I don't need to know what temperature it is in Cupertino. Where the hell is Cupertino anyway? Why do they keep giving me that? Okay, so tomorrow we're going to be 43, Thursday 54, Friday 63, Saturday 63. So nice weekend coming up. A little rainy, but still warm. So that's nice. We had a very cold winter, and I'm kind of glad to be looking at that in the rearview mirror. All right, so I came up with the subject for tonight's briefing yesterday, actually. And what I wrote down, this is my notes, and you may notice there it is 100% BGA certified. So this is a certified briefing that you're going to get. But yesterday when I started, I had a lot of things that I needed to accomplish this week. And a lot of it was just like tying up jobs, just little things, just odd jobs, just to tie jobs up and finish things. And so I'm going to make a list. I tore off some of this. This is butcher paper. That's kind of how I've been doing it for a long time. I just tear it off, then I stand there and I write down the things that I want to get done. And let's see. But at the top of it, I wrote grooving. Grooving. I am grooving. And that's the kind of the way I felt. I did my thing in the morning, did my coffee. I had a cup of coffee, did a cold plunge, did another cup of coffee on the way out the door, and I was feeling it. I was really feeling good. Yesterday was a beautiful day. It was warmer yesterday than it was today. And I started thinking about grooving, groovy. The word, wow, that is so groovy. Where did that come from? I really don't know. It's just a 60s thing, I guess. Oh, so groovy. But I can get in a state of mind where things make a lot of sense. Things make a lot of sense. And then I get to tie processes together and think about them and be able to come up with improvements to the process. And it's like, oh yeah, now I know how that works, or I have a better understanding of that, or this, that. And it's a really cool thing. It's too bad that there isn't some bottle that you can open and knock a pull down, and then all of a sudden, oof, now I'm groovy, right? And I think what do you call it? All right. Well, to me, it's like getting your nose in a groove. Like so. So let's say you're moving ahead, you're running, but you could veer off to the left or the right unless your nose is in a groove. So you get in a groove, and then you're groovy. Why not? Why not? So I got to thinking about, I was in that state yesterday. I was in that groovy state. I was feeling groovy. And I said, now, how do I get here? I'd like to be here all the time, because sometimes I'm not here and I'm kind of like floating around, and little things bother me. And I think about things that are not productive and things like that. And I don't want that. I don't want that. I want to be groovy all the time. I want to be groovy. And I'm feeling pretty groovy right now. Actually. So if anybody else is grooving with me, I want to know. But I wrote down a couple of things yesterday that seem to facilitate grooviness. Now, this is for me. This is for me, right? I'm not saying that everybody's going to be like this, but what is it that gets you in the groove? And I wrote two things down yesterday, and one of them was organization, right? Where I picked up yesterday was a job that I started the day before and didn't quite finish. And when I went in there to finish it, I was building a set of shelves in the store. And before I finished for the day, I picked everything up, swept the floor. I got the tools that I didn't need, put them back where they go. And so when I showed up there in the morning, bright sunny day, I'm coming down, got a cup of coffee. Things couldn't be better. My work is laid out in front of me. And it was organized. And I said, is that why I feel like this? Because I cleaned up yesterday, and so I'm not walking into a mess. Is that why? Maybe. I think it's a contributing factor. I'm going to do that. I'm going to continue to do that. And I also wrote down beautify. And like lately, I've been thinking about words and the meanings of words. And beautiful to me might not be beautiful to somebody else. So it's my thing. It's my store that I'm working in. And I don't think it's going to be beautiful to everybody, but that's okay, because I spend the most time in there. So I want to beautify it to what I think is beautiful, I guess. And then people that I want to do business with, maybe they will think it's beautiful. Maybe. I don't know. But I was going down that road, that thought process. I think a lot while I'm working. And so this morning, yesterday, I told Jill, I know what we want to talk about. We want to talk about getting in the groove. Getting in the groove. really clear to me yesterday what I wanted to talk about, and it's kind of coming back to me now. Kind of coming back to me. Okay, yeah. So then this morning, I'm back down and I'm milking, and I was kind of thinking about tonight. I was kind of thinking about I had to meet with people this afternoon, and then tonight, what are we going to talk about? Because it is important to me. It's important to me when something comes to me that I think is beneficial to me and is helping me move ahead. I think, okay, well, I get to take what I want from that thought, because I'm not sure where thoughts come from at this point. I really don't know. I don't know. They just kind of come. But then if you pass it on, you it's a process of giving back, like contributing to the greater good. And for some people, it might be like, nah, I don't need to know that. But some people might say, hey, yeah, I never thought of that. And they might think of something else. And, hey, did you ever think of this? And then I say, no, but did you think of this? That is the community. It's not group think. It's group solution searching for and other things, right? It's not group think. Group think is when you watch something on the news and then that subject comes up there and you just parrot right back what they said on the news. Well, I think, no, that's not what you think. That's what Tom Brokaw thinks. You just parroted what he said. That's group think. And that is not a great thing, I don't think. I'm not saying it's maybe sometimes it's good. But then this morning, I picked it up again and I was in the groove again. I really was. I was in the groove there. I showed up at work and I was right feeling groovy. And so I decided, okay, I'll turn this over and I'll write on the other side some things. I got a lot written on here. This is sometimes I transcribe these, but sometimes I don't, and I wrote down a couple of things. I wrote down a couple of things today that has helped me to get in the groove. So this morning wasn't like every other morning with the time change and stuff. For some strange reason, I rolled out of bed late, right? I don't know why, and I didn't even want to tell you how late. It was pretty late. And I came out, the clock in our room said one thing, but then the clock out here was like, what? It's what time? And I wasn't the only one that was still sleeping. So I'll just blame it on the time change. But I wrote down here, watching. So when we went out this morning, my job is to get the milker together and get all the jars together, get things cleaned up so we can start getting milk in jars. And then Frank's job is to put the feed in the stanchions and then get the cows in. And then I usually make a bucket for him to start cleaning the cows off. And then he's got the milker hooked up, and I'm usually washing more jars from the night before. Like Monday was a delivery, so a bunch of jars came back in the coolers last night. And so I was washing jars, which I don't mind doing. It's good. It's good work. And everything was going along. I mean, we're in a brand new space where there wasn't even water when we started that project last September. There was nothing in there. It was just a bare bones and no windows, no nothing, no insulation, no heat, no water, no electricity. So to be in there washing bottles is actually kind of a nice thing when you consider how we used to have to do it, going across the driveway and working in the butcher shop. And then for that, going up into the house to use the sink in the house. So I was feeling groovy, and I wrote down watching, just observing what's going on. Watch this process and then feel good about it. Like we didn't have this process. Now we do have this process. What does it mean now that we have this process? We've had a lot of glitches along the way that we had to work out to get to this point. Now we're at this point and things are clicking. They're clicking really good. Now all we have to do is add cows. I have a waiting list of people that want milk. Now I just have cows. Got to talk to you, Brian, by the way. Got to talk to you. Got to finish our conversation. But that's not easy to do. You know, you can't just go out and buy cows. I mean, unless you are independently wealthy. But why would you do this if you were independently wealthy? You know, I don't know. I think you would miss out on a lot if you were independently wealthy, because then there's no, you know, they say that need is the mother of invention, right? So you have a need, and then you got to go through these problem-solving process, and every time you go through that, it gets more enlightening, more fun, I think. A feeling of personal achievement, right? I get that line from The Untouchables. Al Capone used that line one time. Personal achievement, right? Teamwork, right? Team. Okay, so I am going to. I found that just watching the process, like an observer from the outside, instead of just being involved in the process, I can do both. I can step back and just watch. And I was actually in watching Frank, and I was watching the way he handled the cows. I was watching the cows, how they move around, how they react to the stanchions that they're in, the feed that they're in, the lighting, everything. I was just watching it, and I was saying, this is good. This is good. I'm feeling good about that. I'm feeling pretty groovy about this, right? So that's important for me to do. It might work for you guys, maybe not, but stepping back and just observing what's going on. And then I got to the big one, patterning. Okay. I had a conversation with this woman today about raw milk, and it usually leads into either someone wants to regain their health through nutrition, or they want to take their health to the next level through nutrition. I've never seen anybody that says, I just hate milk from the store and I like the taste of raw milk better. Although that's valid. I could see that, but we've never had anybody. It's usually mothers that want to give their children a leg up, or people who have mothers who have sick children, or adults who are sick, and they are trying to regain that, and so they feel as though nutrient dense foods is probably the best way to get there. And I would have to say, by patterning all of these people, because we talk to our customers, and in direct marketing, that is one of the perks. If you like to talk to your customers, let's say I'm producing milk and it just goes on a tanker truck. I don't know where it goes. If I don't know where it goes, you know what I don't care. It goes out the window. But when I'm bottling up that milk or looking after my cows, I know where that milk is going, including my refrigerator. So there's a level of care. That level of care is notched up about 4 notches, I bet. Probably more than that. I've had instances where I've just filled a bottle of milk, and then I see a little bit of rust on the threads. And for a second, I say, But almost every time, I've said, nope. And I'll pour it into another bottle that does not have that little bit of orange rust there, right? That's from the caps that come with the jars, the ball jars, the half-gallon ball jars. That's why we don't use them. Because I'm caring about the people that it's going to. And through that conversation with those people, you wind up hearing very similar stories, like over all these years that we've been doing this. And you can say to them, hey, look, I don't know anything about this, but I can point out a pattern that I'm seeing here and a pattern of success that I'm seeing here. Like, I don't know why, like I grow tomatoes in the garden. If I had to write an essay, why tomatoes grow, it wouldn't be a very conclusive essay. It really wouldn't. I know how to grow tomatoes, but I don't know why they grow. Does that make sense? I mean, I can pontificate about photosynthesis and then. And it seems like the people who pontificate about these things all the time, but they don't really do it. I know how to do it, but I don't know why it happens. I'm just the steward, and that's a pretty good place to be. I can say, well, my part is this, and this. I can do that. But as far as the sunlight and the photosynthesis and all that stuff, that's a design issue. That's really out of my influence. I'm not getting into the genetically modifying, and I don't do that, right? So I'm in a nice, sweet spot. I'm just the steward of this creation. And you can use this to your advantage. I've used it many, many times. What is patterning? Let me explain it. Something happens, all right? So I'm standing outside on a sunny day, and it's kind of warming up, and all of a sudden I got hit on the head with a giant icicle. Ow! Knocks me to the ground. Wow. A week later, it's a sunny day. I'm standing outside. An icicle falls off the roof and hits me in the head. That's twice. Then I turn around and I say, what are the common denominators? Okay, we've got a sunny day. And it's above freezing. So, the snow is melting off the roof. What else is common in this? Where I'm standing, like if I was standing 2 feet further away from the edge of the roof, the icicle would have missed me. So that's something, that's a common denominator here. And there's icicles hanging from the roof. So if I don't want to get hit on the head by an icicle, don't stand under the eave, one. Definitely don't stand under the eave. And this is what I can deduce from that patterning process. Don't stand under the eave, especially on a warm day when there's a melt going on. And just take a quick look. If there's an icicle standing there, don't stand there. So you can deduce a solution from this pattern. What I'm talking about here now more specifically is our health issues, because there seems to be a pattern here. And in this case, it's really clear, but sometimes it's really not. And you can have a gap in time. Well, 2 days ago, I was standing here, got hit in the head with an icicle. So, but it could be, 2 years ago, I was standing here and got hit in the head with the icicle. And so it might be a little bit more difficult to pattern it than it would if the time frame was close. Okay, so that's where you want to be observing. That was the first step, just watching. Watch what goes on. And if this happens, why did that happen? Let's pull that whole situation apart. I can give you a really good one too. And I'm not sure I've absolutely got this one figured out. Although today it started to make a little sense to me because I was asking questions from a different point of view. You know that we have two little goats, two little pygmy goats or whatever they are, Gurr and Nick. And they're little, they're castrated and they've been here. This is their third year being here, I guess. And I'm not really a big goat person. And you'd have to ask the question, why are you not a big goat person? And they're in the goat pergola. We have a pergola here. The clerics have a pergola at their house too. But they're in the goat pergola, and it's a nice little place where when our customers come in, if they have little kids, they can slip right into the pergola and they can pet the goats. And it's a beautiful thing, right? But I'm not a big goat person. But anyway, when these goats get out of the pergola, they will be instantly at the back door, standing there, looking in. Instantly. Like they make a beeline for the house. Beeline. And I can come out of that house and I can yell and scream and throw wood at them and swing things at them. Go back in the house. 20 seconds later, there they are looking in at me. And so what do you got to do? You got to go out and you got to get them back in. So how do you do that? Well, then you got to catch them. They don't want to be caught. They want to stand on the back stoop just so they can look in and irritate you. And it has happened so many times that today I said to Jill, I wish there was a way that we could solve this problem, because they're going to continue to get out because children leave doors open, and those little buggers, they're just little escape artists. If you see the goat pergola, I had to put barbed wire up around the top of it. If I left a gap that much, they would climb 6 feet to get out. I hated them so much, but my kids like them. That's where there's this struggle. You know, I would have whacked them, both of them, and ate their livers a long time ago. But my kids like them, you know, so I don't want to do that. So anyway, I can see them escaping, but I don't understand why they have to come to the house and stand right there. So when you open the door and you want to get out, you've got to walk through them and through their manure, because as soon as they stand there, they manure, just so you can get it, you know. And it's continual. It's just continual. Just take it from me. It's continual. And I started to think, well, maybe they really love me. Maybe that's it. Maybe they're just crying action from me. And maybe the fix on this is if I go down into goat pergola and I bring me some grain, some sweet grain, and then I show them some love. And maybe I just have to just overpower them with love, so they're like, oh, let's get away from that guy. Let's go down in the back 40 and eat some grass. I don't know. It's just a theory at this point, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Okay, what's this? I wrote something here and I can't read it. Oh yeah. I wrote down the paradigm is reinforced everywhere. So when you go through this process of watching and patterning, what I start to see is a paradigm of lack of self-sufficiency and dependency on people who are dumber than us. I used to work with this kid, Robert Nedler, when I was stationed at Loring. Real nice kid, but he was getting out of the Air Force. I said, how come you getting out? And he's like, I'm tired of working for dumber people or dumber than me. I've never forgot that. Dumber in me. Dumber in me. He was from Ohio. Dumber in me. I don't want to work for people who are dumber in me. Okay. But this paradigm sort of trains us to defer our processes to people that we probably shouldn't, experts or people who have gone through, well, the university. I pick on the university all the time because they really, a lot of the people that come out of there are just so bad, so condescending. Oh, I know what it was. I know exactly what it was. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings here, but so I'm going to just not say whether. I won't give a name or he, she, or anything. I'll just use they. They came. I won't even say when, and were getting their milk, and I happened to be in there, and I was getting the brooder ready for baby chicks, and they said that they were going to have them too, and they said, I'm going to put a wire mesh over, a tank. And I immediately said, well, that's not a good idea. Because if your goal is to keep them warm, a wire mesh over it will keep them from getting out, but they'll freeze. It's still cold out, right? So you're going to need to put, plywood over it, something like that, to keep the heat in. And every time I said, here's how you do it, to they that had never done it, there was pushback against what I'm telling you is how you do it. Been doing this a long time, right? You have not done it at all. And then finally, it came to, oh, well, I have a master's degree in such and such. Oh, okay. All right. And then, 20 years younger than me and really condescending, and I thought, okay, all right, now I get it. You get that from time to time, like, just, I am educated. Yeah, but we're not working in your career field now. And I got to the point where I said, okay, do it your way. You do it your way, because it went into everything, predation, all that stuff. First time person wanting to do this process, and I was trying to prepare this person for, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, and I wasn't picking up on the cues that they didn't think what I was talking about. And finally, when I picked it up, I saw, like, oh, okay, you're on your own. You're on your own. And I came back in and I kind of weaved that into, I went back to the milk and I weaved that into my thought process. And I thought, how did it get like that? How did it get like that? What was that exactly? And it is this constant, it's this paradigm of defer to the experts. Defer to the experts. Why are they an expert? Because they have a master's degree in something. Oh. And I really used to buy into that. I did. I bought into it because I thought, well, if you can get a master's degree, then you're pretty smart. But do they teach you about the nuts and bolts of it? I think it's a license to learn, but it doesn't, you don't come out of there knowing how to do the things that we do here. And I don't have a master's degree in farming. I don't even know if they have one. Probably animal science or something, right? And I got to thinking about, how did we get to that point where we buy into that paradigm, but it's reinforced constantly in our society. And when you start to see it, you see it all the time. And I think that once you can break away from that, then you say to yourself, okay, well, why should anybody listen to me? If you need to be listened to, I suppose. And it's because you're good at what you're doing. How do you get good at what you're doing? Because you're persistent, you practice, you you just endure the pain of the process, because the processes are painful, and you just don't quit. You just don't quit, and you stay with it, and you stay with it, and you stay with it. And then where are we then? We're at do the thing and you will have the power, right? The power is the ability to say, no, this is how this works. This is how this works. Look, I went through this. I had predation big time on my farm. I had to buy a night vision scope to go on my guns so I could sit on the roof and just start playing the predators. But that's not work, because there's way more predators than you're ever gonna take down. Plus, you'd have to be up there every single. That's not going to work. And then, okay, well, how do we do this then? You got to have a dog, right? So the Great Pyrenees and all that stuff. And someone told me, actually, it's Daniel Salatin that told me that, Joel Salatin's kid. And I got a dog, and sure enough, he was right. So when he told me that, I'm thinking, well, I know this guy does this process. Do the thing, you will have the power. He had the power to tell me a truth. I acted on it, and it worked. Right? I didn't call the extension service. What would they know about that? Right? Okay. Okay, then another thing that served me well. I wrote pattern recognition again because I think it's so important. When you start seeing patterns, you recognize them, and then you pull them apart, and you say, you can put every event that happens that you want to know more about, like, okay, here's a good one for you. Here's a great one. I got ducks last year because I wanted them on the pond. I may have told you about this. And I really liked these certain types of ducks that we had before because they fly around, they base here, they have their young here, and we had a bunch of them going, and then all of a sudden they get knocked off. And I know why now, but at the time I didn't know who got them or how. But so I decided to get them again because I figured it out. And but this year, they come up to right under where we hang beef, right there in the back door of the butcher shop. And there's like 10 of them. And they make the greasiest, slipperiest mess you ever saw. And for a while, I thought, I can train these things. So every time I saw them there, I'd chase them out and I'd whack them. I'd whack them with a piece of PVC hose. And, but if I wasn't there for 10 minutes, they'd be right back there. Like, they got the whole farm to be at. The bread shed, they could be out there. There's open bread right there. But no, they got to be right there. And it's like, what is here that makes them want to stand here? And manure, this green and white manure that when it's builds up and it freezes and then there's new ones there, it's slippery and you track it in the shop, it's gross. I can't have that next year. I mean, this year we're all done butchering poultry, or else I would have knocked them all off and just put them in the freezer because it's just too much. But I don't know why that's happening, and I've tried to figure it out, because the last time it did not happen, they stayed down on the pond. The pond's frozen right now. I'm figuring that once the pond is not, they will go back. And when they do, at the end of the season next year, I'm going to take out like 6 of them, young ones, and the rest of them, they're all going in the freezer. And the six young ones that I take out, I'm going to cut their wings down to about this thin, and I'm going to build a pen for them that they can't get out of, and that's where they're going to spend the winter, because this has just been too much. What was pattern recognition. Recognizing this pattern and trying to figure out, okay, so that incident, the ducks pooping at the back door, it's just an example. You can reduce that to an equation: ducks, pooping, location, back door, and then what surrounds that. Okay, where's the feed? Is there feed there? No. Is there safety there? No more than anything else. Why aren't they at the back door of the house pooping? Perspective. You're lucky they're down there at the butcher shop and they're not at your back door pooping. Suppose. But why there? What is it that draws them in? Is it there's a work table there? There's the freezer is there, the big freezer, but they don't go near it. It's just right in front of that door. It's the weirdest thing. And I haven't got that figured out, but I have a solution, and I already told you the solution. So pattern recognition. All right. Then the last thing that I wrote down, oh, no, there's one other thing. Is risk mitigation. All right. So in anything that we're doing, oh yeah, I know where this went. Anything that we're doing, let's say you're going to run a chicken processing business. Are there risks? It's 20 of them. I'll give you 5. Safety of the employees. All right. They are my kids. All right. Because we're working with sharp knives, wet floors, electricity, propane burner, hot water, occasionally guns. We keep a 22 handy in case one of them gets away. You know, it's pretty hard to catch a chicken. So we just usually use 22 with those shot shells in them. We're using the tractor. So there's a lot of risks. A person could get hurt. Can we eliminate those risks? No, not if we're going to process. Can we mitigate the risks? Yeah. Sure you can. Training mitigates a lot of that, about how to handle electricity when you're in a really wet environment like that. Proper installation, safety equipment, like, sounds industrial, but really it isn't. Like, people wear boots, like muck boots, when they're working. So that's good. Working with knives, people cut themselves from time to time, but it's not like we're using swords. We're just using, paring knives for the most part. They're sharp, and you can do a lot of damage with those. So, we try to not rush people, and, they get good at it after a while. Practice makes perfect. So they mitigate the risks involved. I know what I was thinking of. Sean Wise sent me a thing yesterday that a longtime poultry processor up where he lives is quitting this year. They've been doing it for 16 years. They got a great clientele, but they're quitting. And I knew about that because they contacted me, and I said, I'll talk to you on the phone about it, but I'm not going to do this texting to tell you what you need to do. I'm not going to do that. We're going to communicate on the phone or forget it. And they didn't want to call me. So, okay, I'm not going to help you. I can't help you because I'm not going to take the time to do a bunch of texting, And stuff doesn't get said properly when you're texting anyway. People take things wrong way. So I don't really like that. We were given this to do this, right? And I thought Sean was going to call me last night. And I was thinking, well, what am I going to say to him about this situation? The individual that's not going to be working anymore did this long write-up on their Facebook page about woe is me, and it's not fair because the insurance company won't insure us anymore. Woe is me. So the insurance company basically puts you out of business. Okay, they did. And I would say to him, I would say to Sean that, look, Sean was the one that sent it to me. And he's thinking about taking up the slack. Nice little business to be in. Good, nice extra money. But I got to tell you this. You're in a career that is not for the faint of heart. Now, what does that mean? I've heard people say that. To me, the faint of heart are people who get stuck in their tracks as soon as there's a risk. As soon as there's a risk. And they think that they could get in trouble. Right? So you've got to look beyond little things like that and say, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to have insurance. Screw it. We've mitigated all the risks we can. We're going to press on anyway. And what is insurance anyway? What really is that? There, you've got a third party that comes in and says, you know, if you pay me a certain amount of money every month, if something happens, I got you back. Anybody ever make an insurance claim and then get really hosed on it? I have. You didn't have my back, but I paid you all this time, and you did not have my back. So they always try. They're real good about telling you pay the money, but then when it comes time for them to take up their side of it, they're like, "Oh no, well, you know, we can't pay on that because you didn't have a licensed electrician put that in. We can't pay on that. It was in the fine print, but you didn't see it, huh?" Oh yeah. They always have a way of getting out of it. So it's better to just, you know, what's going to happen? How many times, if you ran a chicken processing business for 20 years, or in this case, it was like 15 years, how many times have you been sued? None. What are you worried about? You must be doing a good process. Nobody sued you. And if they did sue you, the only thing they can really sue you over is the contract that you have. I say I'll process your chickens. You say you will pay me for the chickens once they're processed. So it's a pretty good process because when people show up here to get their chickens, we load them in their car for them and they pay us. Well, let's say they don't want to pay us and they jump in their car and they're going to drive out. They're not going to get very far, you know, because we'll stop them and we'll hold them until we get paid, right? And then if they say, well, I paid you for it, but I'm going to sue you because there's still feathers on these chickens. Go ahead, sue me, but you're only going to be able to sue me in a civil court. And I will have my say in that civil court too. I think it's worth the risk, but I don't think anybody would. I would probably settle it right there. All right, you don't want to pay for them? See ya. Don't ever come back. End of story. Or they say, I don't want to pay you for these chickens. Okay, well, then I'll keep the chickens because we've got all this work into it. But then you might get sued. I'd probably be better off if someone says they're unhappy with the work we've done and they're going to sue us because we didn't get all their feathers off. I'd probably say, okay, here you go, take the chickens. I'll give you an extra, but don't ever call for an appointment again because we won't service you. And then they're gone. They're gone. We actually got, you know, something out of our hair and only out of our hair, and it only cost us, you know, whatever the chickens were. So it's not a business that you're likely to get sued. We did have a gal one time, and she worked at a health food store that we sold chickens to out in Manistee. And we knew her pretty good. And we have a pretty strict policy now that you have to drop your chickens off, and then we process them. They're dropped off in the evening. We process them in the morning, and you pick them up after 5 o'clock in the evening, between 5 and 7. We used to say after 5, but then you have people showing up at midnight. So then we said between 5 and 7. Oh, I can't. I got to work. Well, then we can't do your chickens, because we're not going to break away from our favorite episode of Hogan's Heroes to go out there at 9 o'clock at night and give you your chickens. Just not going to do it. We got a life too. So we've limited it to 5 and 7. And, if you can't do it, then you can't do it. Process your own chickens. But this lady said to us, well, I have to work and da-da-da-da-da. And could I just come and get them at like 2 in the afternoon? And I said, well, they'll still be warm. And so that's not a good situation. A dead chicken that's warm in a bag, it's pretty safe if it's in our cooler and it's heading towards 38 degrees. But for you to have a chicken in a bag, freshly killed, it's going to be around 80 degrees. And then you're going to put it in the back of your car and drive it out. I said, I don't know. That doesn't sound like a good idea. Oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine, she says. So she goes. Stopped at Walmart on the way home and a couple other places. 4 hours later, she puts them in the freezer. A couple days later, they pull one out and they cook it. Doesn't smell good. Didn't smell good. And they ate it. Her husband got sick. And called and she said, what happened? What happened? And I said, I don't know. You tell me what happened. Well, we got sick. We almost go to the emergency room. Oh, that's not good. Tell me what happened. Did you put ice in the cooler like you said you were? No, I didn't, because I went to McNally's and they didn't have any ice. Or they couldn't find the key to the cooler. Oh, so you had warm birds in a plastic bag in a cooler. All right. Did you go straight home? Well, I had to stop at Walmart. Oh, so they were in there for a couple hours then. Well, yeah, about 3 hours. But I put them in the freezer as soon as I got home, and they were frozen solid when I took them home. Okay, well, that's it. That's it right there. And she said, no, they were frozen. That wasn't it. There was something else, she said. Well, she was trying to get me to remit some money or something, and I just was not going to do it. Then they ate another one and got sick again. How about that? We never helped them again. Okay, so risk mitigation is the best you can do, but I'm telling you, buying insurance does not mitigate the risk. All it does is deaden that nerve that you have, that, because in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh, if this burns down, well, I'll just tell the insurance company, they'll just build a new one. Well, it's not that easy. And plus, you lose so much along the way. So it's risky. This business, there's risks. There's a lot of risks. So what you do is you look at the process, you assess it, you get in the groove, you get feeling groovy, and you say, how do I make this safer? How do I make this, how do I Murphy proof this? Like if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. So make it so it can't go wrong. Murphy proof. That's it. Other than that right there. Whoa. Huh. Right there. 100% BGA certified. I mock that a lot of time. I'm mock certified. I mock it all the time because it's a word that has been bastardized. You know, all of a sudden in our minds, because of the training that we've been given, if you become certified on something at it than the next guy, you're better at it than the next guy. And my experience has been, you can learn the test for certification, but you can be horrible at the process. I would rather have somebody working for me or with me or for somebody that is really good at the process, but it's like certification is like, I don't need that. Because actually, like a third-party certification, all right, so I provide a service, I provide the service for a customer, but I've got a third-party certification. So it's somebody that's disinterested that comes in and it inspects my process and says, do this, do this, do this, do this. And, you know, they all kind of do the same thing. They're all kind of very boilerplate things that they want you to do. But you're able to say on your business card, 100% certified, right? Certified by the USDA, certified by MDA. Oh, they got some real experts working there at the MDA. Some of the worst people that you've ever laid eyes on work at that place. But you can become certified by them, and somehow it carries weight. But my question has always been, where? Carries weight where? If I see somebody with a Michigan Department of Agriculture certified and they're using it as sort of a plug for what a great guy they are, you know, what a great service they provide, I'm kind of like, you know, it doesn't carry any weight with me. None at all. So I mock it all the time. And since I've started mocking it, I started doing it years ago. I start noticing that word all the time. The other day I went past a place, you know, one of these storage places. They have all these buildings with the garage doors, and it was called certified storage. Yes, indeed. Certified. Okay, so this stamp right there, I got that from International Homesteading Association. They certified me. They authorized me to certify you all. And so that's what that is. Actually, all it was a stamp. And so I can stamp it on stuff and it'll say 100% BGA certified. It's kind of a joke, but it's actually mocking the whole situation. If you provide a good service, you don't need a third party to say you're certified. Just the effort that you would put into getting certified, just put that effort into getting good at what you say you're going to do. And that's not hard to do. It's just practice, perseverance, training, get some training. I'm not against training at all. As a matter of fact, I think that training is one of the best things that you can do because you fast forward the process. If somebody shows you how to sharpen a knife, or let's say you take a butchering class and you learn in that butchering class how to sharpen a knife, but like I never knew how to do that. You know, some people, I did. I was a Boy Scout, so I knew how to sharpen a knife. But some people don't know how to do that. Some people don't know how to tie their knots. Some people, you know, so getting that training is a leg up. And I think there can be a day coming when those trainings will be, you know, all the time. You know, we could actually get some certified trainers here at Baker's Green Acres, because I don't have time to be training all of you and certifying all of you. I don't have time. Okay, let's see what we got for comments here. Dave Duncan's with us, pastor. Great sapping weather, huh, Bry? Grooving on a Sunday afternoon. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that. I'm in that age range. 1969. That's the year we landed on the moon, by the way. Certified. I remember that. I remember that well. In my parents' room, they had a little TV, the portable TV. It was about this big, and it was color. My uncle had won it. He was a Catholic priest, and he had won it. And I guess he couldn't have a TV, so he gave it to my mother. Okay. Shadowing the Desert Stray. What gets me grooving is drinking coffee with raw, unpasteurized milk. Yeah, maybe that's it for me too. Maybe it's the coffee and not the. No, I got to tell you. No, little pattern recognition going on here. So this was a very cold winter, and not that cold uh, keeps me out of the cold plunge. I mean, because if it's 30 degrees out there or 30 below, it doesn't really matter so long as the water is fluid, you know. And we, for whatever reason, I think it was we were building out the milk house, and Matt Kolvac was helping me. So he would show up here early, and I'd be like, I didn't get my dunk done, but I'd have to just go, and I didn't get up early enough to get all that done. And it's dark. I don't like going. Who likes going in cold water when it's dark? I don't really like it that much when it's light, but at least I can see there's no snakes in there or anything else. But when it's dark, I just think of being on a ship out in the Atlantic and the German U-boat just torpedoed it and I'm going down. I don't know. I don't like that feeling. So for whatever reason, it froze. And I put the heater in it. Heater left unplugged. Couple, this, that, and the other thing. Before you know it, we had this much ice on it, and before you know it, it cracked the tank, and so we lost. I would say, about a month of plunging. And I tried to look at the bright side, but I said, well, this will be a test case to see, does it affect us a lot when we don't cold plunge? And it did. It really did, because now that I'm back to cold plunging, it's much better. Okay, shadowing the desert stray. Mark, it's because you're doing the things that God put you here to do with your own liberty. That is true. That might be a turnoff to some people. I could care less, but you could tailor that testimony very easily so it would not be a turnoff to people, unless somebody is a hardcore Big Bang Theory person. If you are, okay, whatever. But I think the best way to put that is, the more you observe this process, the surer you become that there is a design. And man is definitely part of the design. The animals don't need us. We need them. They were created for us. They were designed for us. So there's definitely a design. And does God care if I call him Dave or Tony or Yahweh? I don't think that's our name for him. Like, we're fragile creatures and we have to have a name for this being that created this. This was definitely creation. So we call him this, that, and the other thing. I don't think he really cares what we call him. Just so long as you acknowledge him, you're taking care of his animals. You're actually working right for the boss. You're not working for a corporation that's working for the boss. You're working directly. And if that's the case and you ask for help, I think he'll help you. Why not? They're his animals. He wants to see you succeed. Isn't there trying to burn your house down. Really wants to see you succeed. Oh, how come things go wrong then? Well, I was having that conversation with Carrie Crunk yesterday. I think that's because, and I called her because because what was it? Oh, one of my best cows won't breed back. So I don't want to butcher her. We've tried to breed her 3 times and she won't breed back. At least I can make a phone call to somebody who knows more than I do about it. I'm talking to her. And we got on that subject, and she said, some days it feels like God hates us. And I said, well, if you hadn't had the problems, actually, she was able to give me a solution, or a probable solution for my cow not getting pregnant. She gave me a probable solution. And I said, I wouldn't have even been able to get that probable solution from you if you hadn't walked that road before me and figured it out. So I think maybe that's why God let you fail, because God wanted you to give that information to me because he likes me more than you, probably. Probably. Ballistic Mystic, Dr. Baker, I respect that you have HD Homestead doctorate degree. H is for honorary. H is also for husbandry. Right on, man. Right on. I can dig that. Yeah, I'm certified. I am certified. And you know what? If you are here right now, Ballistic, I'd certify you. I'd give you that certification right on your forehead. And you go around, stop in 7-Eleven. Hey, BGA certified. Hey, me too, they'd probably say. All right. Good times. Good times. Appreciate everybody coming by. Life is going really good around here. I feel like we're trending in a direction that is really good overall. I don't think that we need to be sitting on our laurels and thinking things are going to change from the top down. Not that they won't, but I don't think we need to be doing that. I think we need to be doing our part and getting the processes covered. Dare to fail. Get out there and dare to fail, and seek solutions. We're here. Tomorrow night is the consultation call, 8:00. It's a Zoom call. If you're not a member of Tribe Plus, bakersgreenacres.com, follow the links, become a member, and that will qualify you to get into the Zoom call. We get a lot of ground covered in that call in what's supposed to be an hour that usually turns into 2 hours. But we cover a lot of ground. Okay. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Remember, anyone can farm.